Good morning and welcome to Morning Java. I'm Matt Sunday alongside Chris Bradford. Chris, as always, Morning Java is brought to you by our good friends at GetGo Cafe and Market, which means right now, Chris, you can get a Philly cheesesteak.
There we go.
Well, you can get it all the time, but they've got a couple special ones on there. There's like a
Yeah, they got a couple like gourmet artisan kind of cheesesteaks.
yeah,
Very
like a
interesting.
pepper jack deal.
That sounds pretty good.
DK
right now.
loves the pepper jack on just about everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say pepper jack's pretty good on pretty much anything.
Now, one of our fans and readers' favorite people out there, not the Philly cheesesteak, but Justin Schultz. He's finally starting to make his return back to hockey. He started skating. You saw him in the locker room following practice. Didn't get to talk to him, but...
No, but obviously this is a very encouraging sign. Here we are, pretty much the first week of January, and the hope is that he'll be back in mid-February. It looks like he might be a little ahead of schedule. I'm not saying that he will be, ahead of mid-February, but a very promising sign that he's back on skates. So that's just the first step, a baby step. But that means soon he'll be talking with the skills coach, and then hopefully joining a regular practice.
Yeah, you were there when he got injured. Described it as really devastating.
Oh, it was gruesome. Yeah, it was. It was up in Montreal, and it was early season, and I don't know how much the ice played a factor in that. It looks like he may have caught a rut, and foot turned away, it shouldn't turn. But what I remember about that was Montreal, the famous hockey mecca, and right after that game, they're changing the ice out to put in the Toronto Raptors exhibition game right after that. So I don't think the ice there was particularly good.
Who do you see getting forced out with him coming back?
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be a tough one. Mike Sullivan's going to have a tough decision. I think Jim Rutherford's going to have a pretty tough decision because that's going to give them, 9 healthy defensemen. So that's not going to happen.
And then they're already having issues, right? Because, Yusuf Riegel, he's already playing his way kind of into the lineup where he's been forced out, and that's with Jamie Alexiak being back involved.
Yes, so. That looks like Alexiak's been the guy who's been out lately. Ricola's another guy who could be going out, but, Oli Mata. There's an interesting situation because I think as we've seen over the course of this season and certainly over the tail end of last season, the Penguins look like they still need a third-line center. If they're going to make a move to get that third-line center, you're going to have to give up something. One of the pieces that the Penguins could move, who could bring back a decent return, is going to be Oli Mata.
Wait, the running backs coach? Really? What did he do?
Well, there are a lot of things there that are involved behind the scenes that we don't see. When Joey Porter was fired last week, a lot of people said, we don't know if he was a good linebackers coach or not. In many cases, it's the same thing here. You don't know if a guy's a good position coach or not. A lot of this goes into, does he help with the game plan? Is he upstairs or is he downstairs? And James Saxon was one of the guys who was upstairs in the booth, which means he was one of the guys that Mike Tomlin didn't trust to send him down. Oh, hey, coach, you should review this. You shouldn't review that. Those kind of things. So there's a lot more to it than just if the guys perform at your position or not.
Yeah, I could see that because when you talk about Porter, you can say on one hand, well, he didn't coach up, Jarvis Jones or Bud Dupree, but on the other hand, you can say, well, somebody was responsible for T.J. Watt, right?
So everybody loves Ola Adeniyi. He's turned him into a linebacker.
Sure. Now,
any of the other
that's
guys.
not defending one way or another. Right. It's just saying that we don't necessarily know by on-field results. So where James Saxon presided over James Conner's emergence, we saw later in the season Jalen Samuels as a rookie was able to have an impact at times, but wow, I'm not letting you get off the hook here with that without that other thing, because if Mike Tomlin is putting a running backs coach in the booth to help with replays, what are we talking about here?
Well, that's what people.
I know I'm
people
exaggerating
need to understand about the Steelers organization is first and foremost they have fewer assistant coaches than pretty much any other team in the league. Secondly, they're not just going to hire a guy who does nothing but look at replays. What's he going to do on the other 345 days of the year?
Well, maybe, why do other teams do it in the NFL and across
Why do other teams
sports?
have 25 position coaches?
I don't know, but maybe there's a reason for it. If there's only 16 games that you're playing, and these calls are so huge.
But I would argue this about the replay stuff, and I get what you're saying. At the same time, if you look at replays overall as the league, since the league took them over, since Al Riveron took over doing all the replays, in New York. Coaches are getting less than 50% of the calls are being overturned.
Yeah, because fewer of them are being initiated
Not only
by
that,
the coaches.
but is there anybody in America who watched the Chargers and Ravens game yesterday who didn't think, outside of Al Riveron, who didn't think that Watt scored on that play?
Yeah, I know.
But that goes as a failed replay.
Right.
I mean, it's just...
I just think you have to be as equipped as possible. And that includes not just when you're talking about a person, you said, what do they do in the other 300 days of the year? Well, the Pirates have a video guy, Kevin Roach, who also helps with equipment and preparing video studies for Ray Searage, the hitting coach, and for the hitting staff. There are other ways to keep them busy.
But they've got guys who do those kind of things.
It's just stubbornness. It's just stubbornness. I just, he's going to get.
But if you have coaches, the bottom line is, if you have coaches in the booth that you trust,
right,
when they say, "Hey, coach, I think that needs to be challenged," and you trust them to do that, then you throw the flag.
But it could
Otherwise,
just be
you
a
don't.
video
If you don't, and I'm Art Rooney sitting down with you, and you say, "I don't trust any of those guys upstairs," then get me some guys upstairs who you do trust.
And they don't have to be a running backs coach. They could be a video guy. They don't have to be running backs / video guy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's strange. Aleksander Barkov is coming to Pittsburgh on Tuesday night. And, if you're a real hockey fan, that's actually a cool thing, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're a real hockey fan, but you're not going to find that on the marquee at PPG Paints Arena.
You won't find it in South Florida either.
No, but this is a true superstar in this game. I mean, this is a guy who plays a 200-foot game. There's really a lot like. I'm excited to see the Florida Panthers.
I'm excited to see that final 10 to 15 feet that he does to any goaltender. I think he does it better than anybody in the league. What he's able to do in tight quarters is amazing. The multiple moves that he has, how fast he is, the way he turns the puck over left, right, inside, forward, backward, toe drag, you name it. I don't think there's anyone that can match that particular skill of his across hockey.
No, and the Penguins got a pretty good look at it last March down in South Florida, where of course, Matt Murray out of the game and had to bring in Casey DeSmith. I mean, this guy's a really tremendous player.
No,
just flies under the radar.
He is. Anybody else fit in that category for you? The underrated, underappreciated?
For me, I look at a guy who plays in New York, but not for the Rangers, plays for the Islanders, which means, you're second-class citizen. So, to me, Anders Lee is a guy.
Oh, that's a good one.
Big-time power play producer, big body. I like his game.
Yeah, I like his game, too. Underappreciated, underrated. You know where I'm going with this.
North of the border?
That would be north of the border and slightly to the west. I don't think people realize how terrific of a player Mark Scheifele is in Winnipeg. His skill set, his ability to pass, but also to finish. And it was fun in the playoffs last year with the Jets making it to the Western Conference Final, the massive run of goals that he was on. Yeah. To see the rest of the league go, who was this guy? When in fact, a lot of people who've been paying attention, and people throughout hockey notice this sort of thing, don't they? Much more so than the general public.
Yeah, Scheifele's a great player. That's a really good team. So, I mean, he's in a situation like Phil Kessel is here where, they have a lot of marquee names, and he's kind of just right under it.